Welcome to Teen ypww, Lesson 3. I do not own the rights to this music. The topic is Zerubbabel, the governor, and the assignment, Part 3. The lesson text is Zechariah chapter 4, verses 6 through 10. The memory verse. I will read the King James Version first, and then the New International Version of Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. The New International Version. So he said to me, This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord Almighty. The key for today's lesson. They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. The focus, strengthened to wait, work, and worship. This week we will conclude our study on Zerubbabel, the governor of Judah, and his assignment. It is important to note that Zerubbabel worked cooperatively and in tandem with prophets that God assigned to work with him. Joshua, Ezra, Haggai, and Zechariah were the assigned prophets. They kept Zerubbabel encouraged throughout the timeline of his assignment and his life. They prayed, prophesied, and physically helped in the manual labor of this construction project. When we seek to please God in the assignments that we have been given, He will send us the help we need. For the most part, teen listeners, your assignment for now is to seek to do well in your studies at school. Live a saved life and obey those persons God has placed over your life. These persons may be your parents, your grandparents, other family members, or your guardians. You are encouraged to be successful in every area of your life. Zerubbabel is our sterling example this quarter of how God will bless us to succeed even in the face of opposition and unexpected delays. After years of opposition, controversy, and delay in the work of rebuilding the temple, the angel of God appeared to Zerubbabel to encourage him. Our memory verse is the prophecy that the angel spoke concerning this assignment at this stage of the project. The angel declared that God's intentions for the rebuilding of the temple remained the same. It was still a planned event. The ways and means of how this project would be completed, declared by this angel, was not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of God. The supernatural power of God was going to be enacted on their efforts and work. In the verses following our memory verse, the angel of the Lord gives Zerubbabel a vision, casting assignment to speak to all of the years and opposition problems he had faced as if they were a mountain. He challenged Zerubbabel to call the mountain of opposition, criticism, betrayal, and weariness a flat plain. Flat land that he would walk upon easily and do the rebuilding work with ease. Zerubbabel's spiritual vision changed. He began to see things that be not as though they were. The work resuming and the temple completed. To help him with this spiritual vision of completion, the angel continues telling him about the finished temple. He declares 3 more important futuristic points. Number 1, Zerubbabel would bring forth the capstone of the temple. The capstone was the final piece of all construction projects. Number 2, Zerubbabel would have the wonderful honor of completing this project because he was obedient and brave enough to start it years ago. Number 3, Zerubbabel would one day hear the joyous chants of celebration from the people when the temple was completed. That would be shouting, grace, grace unto it, which means God bless it. Zerubbabel had his marching orders and was blessed to gain renewed strength to work. Those who had previously opposed the rebuilding project now had a change of heart. When God sent the prophets Zechariah and Haggai to help, and support Zerubbabel, the work on the temple resumed. 4 years later, in 516 BC, the temple was completed and dedicated with numerous celebrations. They worshiped and praised God for several days. The Jews also observed the Passover to commemorate this great accomplishment. Just as the angel of the Lord declared, it all came to pass. Although the process and the project seemed impossible, by the Spirit God made it possible. After 20 years, it came to pass. God was pleased with Zerubbabel's work and his restoration of temple worship. Some older Jews who saw the grandeur and splendor of the first temple that Solomon built was disappointed with the smaller, less glamorous temple that Zerubbabel built. Although the second temple was not as large as the first temple, God was pleased with the work that Zerubbabel accomplished. Haggai prophesied that the second temple would have magnificence that would outshine the first temple. This prophetic word came to pass 500 years later, when Jesus Christ was born. The second temple built by Zerubbabel was not as impressive as the first temple, but it had greater glory. Jesus Christ himself walked the halls and courts of the temple that Zerubbabel built. We will conclude our study on Zerubbabel this week. God blessed him to complete the mission that seemed impossible. Rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. It would be known as the Second Temple. God made it possible by the supernatural power of his Spirit. We will discuss the 5 prophets that God sent to encourage Zerubbabel throughout the 20-year timeline of this project. Lastly, we will review the wonderful worship celebrations that were held when the second temple was completed. The questions for today's lesson. Question 1. God strengthened Zerubbabel to complete this 20-year project with his team. What are some responsibilities he had as the leader of this project? Number 2. Team morale is important. How did God help to change the morale of the people from not wanting to complete the project to being excited to complete the project? And number 3, research what was the first time recorded in the Bible that Jesus Christ was seen in the temple and discuss it with your class. In the end, God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.